Good morning, man. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
We talked to you a lot during the recruiting process before you got to Baton Rouge, and obviously since you've been on campus, life has been wild with school and football. What has your college experience been like, first and foremost?
I mean it's been everything I've dreamed of. I've always wanted to. Growing up, like watching my dad's players, it's like kind of living out the dream. I mean, it's been exciting to say the least. With everything going on, and especially at LSU. So, I mean, have fun.
What was your biggest takeaway from last year, both mentally and physically?
Biggest takeaway, I guess. I learned a lot. It was very eventful for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's tough to say that I learned like one biggest thing. I learned a lot. It was kind of almost hectic, I guess you could say, with everything going on. It was a heck of a first year. With the whole Coach O situation, and now I got a new coach and all this stuff going on. And
John Trey beat you out.
yeah. Shout out Chew. But no, that was fun. Helping getting him ready to play. It was definitely interesting. But I mean, I guess the biggest lesson that I learned from it was kind of like you never know what's gonna hit you. I think it was a huge experience for me as a freshman to go through so much. It's almost like now what else can happen? I've been through so much as a freshman. It was huge to get to learn all those lessons. So
how fast was the SEC compared to where you played big time high school football in Texas? I mean, I don't think that it was. How different is the game?
I mean, it's hard to say that it was a huge turnover for me because, like you said, Texas is such a high level play. It's almost like playing small level D1 football, especially at the 6A level in Texas. So, I mean, it's almost like, in high school I practiced at 5 a.m. So it's not like the workload was a huge change for me going into LSU, but obviously, you're playing in the SEC, so it's a different animal for sure. So, I thought it was a challenge that I enjoyed. I didn't run from it. I liked that, so it was a lot of fun.
I know the type of competitor you are. Have you ever thought about transfer? Have you ever thought of that?
Nah, that's never came to my mind. LSU is where I want to be. I've said it before. Louisiana is my home. I want to do whatever it takes to be the guy here. And so, just put your head down and I just keep working. So,
what did you make?
You got a lot of people that day. April 1st seemed to hit full a couple of
I woke up and I see my phone. I'm like, wait, am I transferring? Dang, this is news to me too. So,
what did I do last night?
Yeah, I don't remember that. So.
Fucking Besh.
It's all Besh's fault.
No doubt about it.
Everything's Jack's fault.
Agreed.
Blame Jack. Lee's the next head coach. Just follow him on Twitter.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Brian Kelly, when did you first hear his name? What did you think of him when he was announced, and how's your relationship with the head coach?
Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of thrown off. I didn't know that that was even possible, with Coach Kelly. Coach Woodworth, or Mr. Woodworth, I guess, Mr. Scott Woodworth, he's awesome, and so, I knew we were in good hands. I knew Mr. Scott was going to get us the right guy. I've known him since I was a little kid. He was the AD at Washington. My dad was at the University of Washington, so I've known him for a while. So I felt good throughout the process. I was like, he's going to find the right guy. And, I think the fan base respects him a lot. He knows what he's doing. So I trusted him. And when we hired Coach Kelly, I was pretty excited. I didn't really know what was going to go on at first, just because I didn't know how we were going to do offensively, what we were going to do, what was going to be the scheme, stuff like that. But, Coach Denbrock and the guys they brought in, Coach Sloan, I love them. I love my coaches. I think they do a really, really good job. So, I'm super excited. And Coach Kelly, it's awesome because he's so hands-on. It's it's not only if I throw a bad ball, it's not just Coach Sloan in my ear. It's what? Coach Kelly's what? And I'm like, oh, okay. And getting to learn from him and know what your head coach wants you to do is so big. You have such a strong structure of, hey, this is what my head coach wants from me as a starting quarterback, and I think that's huge. So,
did Notre Dame recruit you out of high school?
Nah, so Notre Dame is different in their recruiting. They had a kid committed since freshman year, and that's I think it was Tyler Bushner. That's my guy. He's a stud, but they had him committed since early sophomore year, so they were out of the game fast.
What do you make of this competition? I call this the fiercest competition on the team. It feels like in just watching you guys, but you, Miles Brennan, who is the older guy who has the experience, and then Walker Howard throws his name into the mix as the number one quarterback in last year's recruiting cycle, and then a transfer in Jaden Daniels, and you kind of the guy who has been there for a year. Somebody that is in this competition, what do you make of it?
I mean, it's been interesting. I mean, it's hard to get, three guys reps and like, kind of split that up. But you just have to learn to, like, when it's your turn to go, like, you can't worry about anything else. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. It matters what you do and how you play, how you compete. And I think it's just like anything in life. If you want something, you're going to do whatever it takes to get it. I think the biggest part for me this spring was just it's all internal, and if you get lost in, like, looking around and what's going on and, oh, that was a great throw by Jaden or Miles is balling, like, you can't root against them. I'll never root against any other the quarterbacks in the room because that doesn't do anything because it's all about, like, what am I going to do, If I root against Miles while he's up and then I go up and I suck, then I'm worried about somebody else. Now I suck, It doesn't matter. I'm not going to play the guy that sucks. So, you root for them to do great, and you work on yourself to try and do great with your reps. And I think that's the biggest thing in a QB competition is just literally just you have to focus on yourself. You can't get lost in all the talk about a competition and who's going to play, who's going to start. It doesn't really matter if you're not playing to the level to where you can be the guy. So,
is the responsibility of the position different from last season or polarizingly different than what it was last season?
I mean, I think at any time, being the quarterback, you have a huge responsibility. You got to lead the offense. I think one thing Coach Sloan talks about a lot, which I like, is, being the quarterback, you control the rhythm of the offense and how fast we go, how slow do we go, controlling it, slowing it down, being the leader and really being the guy that everybody looks at. When offense is struggling and going slow, who does everybody look at, right? It's the quarterback. What is he doing? What's taking him so long, So you got to have control of that. You got to slow it down or you got to speed it up when you're going fast, So I think that was a big thing.
How's the relationship with Denbrock? How do you like what you learned from him over the last couple of months?
Yeah, Coach Denbrock's awesome. I love his personality. I think that's the coolest part is, he'll get on you quick, but he also is like outside of practice, like he'll make a couple jokes and like those are my type of people, to be honest. Like I like to be able to mess around with my coaches and like everybody is like that. It seems like, Coach Denbrock, Coach Sloan, even Coach Kelly is like cool to hang out with. Like it's kind of weird to think about, but like I would like hang out, you know what I'm saying, and like mess around with them in the office upstairs, outside of meetings and practice. But I mean, Coach Denbrock's awesome. I think he does a really great job. So I'm very excited.
Give us a play call real quick. Give us a play call. 1, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my God. Dang, you know how many play calls there are? Trio right, Nola hot, extra. I don't know. That's just throwing stuff out there. And I mean, it's definitely longer than what we had last year. I mean, like we have some pretty long play calls now. So I think it took a lot of us a minute to kind of like fully get going with this offense because, I mean, before things were a lot shorter. Now we kind of like make sense, like tag individual things, like, it could be like X Smoke or, like Z Betsy. Like it just like is more individual. So put it all together and it looks longer and it looks scary. But like when you go through it, it's like, okay, it's easy.
Everybody knows what they're doing because of the play call. No, are we checking with me still or what are we doing?
I mean, like, everybody checks with me a little bit, so I mean, I'm sure we'll have that as a tempo. But last year I think we did a lot of that. I mean, I think
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it worked and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because in the SEC nowadays, like defenses are smart. Like even with like RPOs, like they'll mess with you. Like they know you're reading that guy to try and throw a glance behind him. Like they're gonna come up and then somebody's gonna be right there. You to throw it right to him. I mean, the game's evolving like every week. So like every year something's different. Like who knows what's going to happen this year? Like defense is probably going to come with some crazy way to stop everything this year or something, But I mean, the checking with me, I kind of like it sometimes, but I also like to just go and just play. So
yeah. You don't like the gunslinger stuff. I don't think that, but you're not. That's not who you are. Like,
nah.
Did you have that reputation in high school?
No, I think it was just because I like to take a couple chances, maybe every once now and then. I'm not afraid to throw the ball down the field. So I guess, I don't know, maybe as a true freshman I came in and maybe I was looking for the deep ball too much, and that's where that kind of came in. But my whole life, my best quality has been that like I run the offense. I'm very good at. I'm intellectual. I can tell people where they're supposed to be, get the tempo right, like get us going, make the right reads. So gonna show that this year, hopefully. So kind of get rid of that little gunslinger thing, and maybe more of a game manager mindset will come out. So.
The number's always been 13, right? You wanted to get back to 13. Was that the number? That was the idea the entire time?
Yes, sir. So my pops wore 13. He actually played for the Saints and wore 13. So my whole life I wore 13. I wasn't able to wear it last year because of Chu, the guy that beat me out, whatever. But so, I would talk to Chu. I was like, hey, so you going to let me wear that next year? And he's like, yeah. So, I've been in 13 all off season, so. No, I didn't get my number stolen. I was excited that I got to wear 13 again. So, yeah.
What is your relationship like with your dad as a football coach? I'm not trying to get into your personal dad-son relationship, but as a football player,
down Coach O's door.
how does that work? How do you guys go back and forth?
It's pretty cool. I don't know. Like it's hard to explain. It's like having another coach. Like, you always got to listen to what your coach says, right? And like my dad's always told me, well, it doesn't matter what I say; it matters what your coach is telling you to do. But it's definitely cool to like have that, And football concepts are universal. So like, if I'm like, hey, Dad, we got this drive concept. He's like, okay, explain to me your read. I'm like, boom, 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 and then I did this, and I missed it here. And he's like, oh. Well, I'm sure your coach would tell you should have went here and you missed this. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I missed. And so it's cool to have like another person to check with. And one thing I will say is my dad has never, ever been the type, growing up. He's never once called a coach about my playing time. He's never once got involved in any of that. Even last year, he has never once been the guy to, why aren't you playing my son? Why is my son not in the game? Why is my son not playing? That's never been him. He's never done that my whole life. He didn't even do that last year. So, there was a lot of stories about that, but that wasn't true. So,
that.
What are your relationship like with his players? I'd imagine that like a guy like Dak. Do you access him?
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times. Actually, before COVID, it was pretty cool. I would be on the sideline every game. My job was to hold the iPad. So. Got put to work, which was a lot of fun. I got to experience a lot of cool stuff. But they're always great. I've never really been in an experience where players treated me very poorly, and especially in Dallas, like those guys are awesome. Zeke and Dak and Coop actually played for my dad at Alabama, and then was with them last year. So
casual.
I heard him speak over the weekend, and you could tell that Coop didn't want to leave Dallas.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. But hey, it's a business, the
Sure.
NFL. It's wild. So, yeah.
What is your emphasis this offseason?
One thing with me, I'm always working on getting bigger. I was 172 when I first got to school, but that was fresh off of hand surgery. And I got all the way up to like 190 before the season. And then of course you're gonna lose a little bit of weight during the season. So I'm at like 187 right now. So just continuing to like keep getting bigger there. My goal is to be about 200, 190 before the season, which is very realistic, I think, for me, because I can put the weight on decently quick, when I'm really, really working out and we're really lifting.
If you need advice, just talk to Miles. He seems to have found out the secret.
Yeah. I'll ask Miles a couple questions about that. But I think the biggest thing for me was kind of slowing down the game and just letting my processing work, just seeing smaller things. One thing Coach Sloan has worked on me the most with is like being not result like oriented and being more process oriented. I think sometimes I'll be like, I may like skip past a read and throw a 60-yard touchdown. And it's like, oh, let's go through 60-yard touchdown. But it's like, hey, you would have thrown a 60-yard touchdown to this guy, and this is your right read. So throw it to this guy instead of, because that guy fell down, and so he's only open because of this. He's like, I get you threw a 60-yard touchdown. But if you throw it to the guy you're supposed to, that's going to work 10 out of 10 times, and this is going to work 8 out of 10 times. So I think for me that's kind of been something I've been working on is like, hey, stick with this. Like, yeah, he's wide open because that guy fell, but, obviously in a game if a dude falls and the dude's wide open, I'm going to throw it to him.
Pull the trigger.
but I'm trying to change my process as to, because that guy's not going to fall down every play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if my process is, hey, start here, then the one time where the dude does fall down, if I've thrown this 9 out of 10 times and I'm 9 for 10 right now, he does fall down. Okay, now I can throw the touchdown, But as long as I'm going through the process the right way, I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Absolutely. You've got weapons everywhere. It feels like when you look at the overall units of LSU football, defensive line jumps out as a very talented group, and then your eyeballs go to wide receiver. Mason Smith, that's right.
No good.
Looks like a punt returner. But the wide receivers, it feels like they're dripping off of trees over there.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, what do you see when you see that position?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, how can I complain? You know, like I throw the ball. I mean, something goes bad. Throw it up to Malik Neighbors, throw it up to Jack Besh, throw it up to Brian Thomas, you know.
You still got Kayshon Boutte waiting.
I mean, Kayshon's coming back. He's still hurt. Like, it's actually pretty scary if you think about if we can have a quarterback that's playing at a high level, no matter who it is, with the weapons that we have. And I think the O-line group is coming together very well. I think some people gave him some crap after the spring game because we took a couple sacks, but I want y'all to realize who they had to block. Like, Ali Gay, Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy, Mekhi Wingo, like,
BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, BJ, like, dude, these guys aren't scrubs. Yeah. Like, that's probably the best defensive line group in the country. Yeah. So, right. Like, dudes that could all be Hall of Famers. Yeah. Like, I mean, and Coach Davis does an unbelievable job. I love Coach Davis. I mean, ever since he's got here, he's just been, like, awesome. He brings just so much energy and so much juice to that group, and, like, they feed off it, and they love it. I mean, I think at first they didn't really like it just because, like, he came in here, let's go, and they're like, whoa, hold on, who are you, you know? And then, like, they got to know him, and they're like, oh, crap, like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
And Coach Davis is awesome. I think everybody loves Coach Davis just because, you know, he's always energetic and always, you know, getting on everybody's tail. And so, I mean, I think it helps the O-line a lot, and I think they do a great job. So,
you mentioned BJ Ojulari, and one of the great pieces of video that came out of spring was you shaking up BJ on a run and kind of talking shit to him a little bit on the way back. How much emphasis is that on the quarterback this year to be able to make plays with your feet?
I mean, I don't know that it's going to be massive and huge, and I don't know that we're going to be like Tim Tebow's, but right. I think Coach Denbrock likes to use the quarterback a little bit as far as like zone reads, and I don't think Coach Denbrock is the type to – I mean, I think he knows what the SEC is. I don't think he's going to be telling us to run straight into defensive linemen in the SEC. You know, everything we do is off of a read to where we're running one-on-one with somebody. You know, it's like if he goes there, okay, now pull it. You're running one-on-one with the safety. You know, like he's not trying to get us killed. He's using us as a weapon, which I really like. And, I mean, I like to run a little bit. I mean, I've ran before, so – like, I like to be able to, you know, if I pull the ball and go run for a first down and get down, like, I think that's something that'll be really good for us.
Greg Brooks just walked into the studio, and he'll be coming up here next on the show. You guys put a ton of transfers into the locker room, a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
Somebody that was there last year during that transition. How has that gone?
I mean, it was definitely interesting. You got all these new guys coming in, but they've all been great. They've all, like, you know, adapted pretty well to the locker room, which is cool because, you know, sometimes you'd be like, all these new guys coming in, they're going to be hot-headed and think they run stuff and, like, try and do their own thing. But nah, I mean, like, they've all been awesome, and it's pretty cool to see. Like, they've all came in, and, you know, we're all boys. So, I mean, you know how it is in the locker room. Everybody's boys. So, I mean, everybody just about that's came in has been, like, so cool that I've talked to, and, you know, I've got to know most of them. And so, I mean, like, I'm glad they're here for sure. So.
Yeah. True freshman standpoint, anybody stand out? Some of these new guys. I know Will Campbell seems
Will
like he's
Campbell,
yeah, right.
That kid's a freak. I mean, especially like offensive lineman is like the one position that it's like, what are the odds that this kid plays as a true freshman? Like, and Will came in and is like I mean, the kid's supposed to be going to prom, you know, like, and he's balling in the SEC. Right. And like I said, against BJ Ojulari, Mason Smith, like, that's pretty impressive. So, like, I mean, that makes me feel good knowing I got him for 3 years. Right. So, yeah, he's a stud.
I know he kind of outside of the competition right now, just as a true freshman, it seems like you guys from an experience standpoint are really duking it out. But what have you made of Walker Howard?
Walker's going to be a stud. Walker's going to be a stud. I mean, he's great. I love his mindset, and I love Walker Howard. Walker is awesome. It's just like he's cool. He's always down to do what's best for the team, you know. I mean, it's hard, you know, being a true freshman. It's kind of like where I was at last year. I mean, it was 4 of us. It wasn't as heated, and it wasn't necessarily as big of a competition. But, no, there were times where I didn't get as many reps as I would have liked. And, you know, same thing kind of happens to Walker, just being the true freshman. That's just how it is. And, like, he never once was over there pouting about it or making us feel bad about it. Like, he's supporting us, and I respect him a lot for that. Because I mean, I went through the same thing, and I had to do the same thing, you know. So I mean, he's going to be an absolute stud. So,
one more on personnel from a coaching standpoint. Tommy Moffitt was a staple of LSU. I mean, he was almost the face of not only the football program, but like the institution for the last 20 years. Huge turnover from the strength department. I know how much that means to a football program. What's been the transition to Coach Flint?
I think the biggest difference that we've kind of like gone to is, you know, before it was kind of like a heavier workload, and it's like, you know, conditioning was just like tough it out, let's go, be tough. And I mean, that still is how it is, you know, it's not easy at all. I mean, it's hard. It's hard stuff that we do, but like a typical day of running for us is like, we'll bring the lasers out, and it's not 7 times run through the laser. It's, we do our warm up, we get loose, we get right, and it's like, hey, 2 full speed sprints through this thing, full maximum effort. I want your best time. And it's like, it helps because it's not just like getting us tired and giving us bad numbers. Like, it's, you're at full go, you're running full speed through the laser, and then like you're tracking your times over the weeks. So as we lift, as we keep going, like you can see your numbers rising, and it's like, it shows you not only are they like, hey, you're getting better. It's like, hey, look, you're getting better. Like, your times are going up because we're doing this, and blah 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 blah. And I think that helps, like, for some people that like aren't necessarily like, man, I love this weight room stuff, or it's like, if you see progress, it makes you want to keep doing that because you trust it, you know. So I think Coach Flynn and his staff do a great job. So,
SWAT team captain yet?
Not yet. We're still getting there. So
any gold jersey time?
Oh yeah, we got the gold jersey a couple times. Don't worry about that. So, yep.
Garrett Nussmeier, LSU quarterback. Competition is fierce going into the offseason. It'll be fun to watch this group develop as they come in to fall camp.